Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner and operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Event, and I want to welcome you to our program today, in which I take an individual horror film, and me and my special guest kind of analyze, critique, have a conversation about that individual film. Now, this film can be from any different decade of horror, including any different subgenre of horror, because what we love to do is we love to take all these great movies that no one's watching but us horror fans and have a conversation about them, no matter how big or small that film is. This being said, we are currently exploring a lot of films out there this month that are part of the LGTBQ. I
Don't
can't.
forget the plus at the end of it.
Yes, it's Pride Month, and so we are
Yeah.
trying to highlight a lot of great films that are that highlight those type of themes from different filmmakers, from different countries, from all over, and different time periods. So we want to take a few moments this month and kind of highlight those films because a lot of times those type of films don't actually get talked about enough in our opinion. So it will be a great pleasure to explore a lot of those films this month. And we hope that you will like, share, follow, subscribe so you never miss an episode of any of these conversations because we will continue to have them even past this month. So please join us on multiple conversations this month. Let's get to the movie that we are talking about this month, or this episode, and that would be A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2, Freddy's Revenge from 1985. And to talk about this film with me, I have brought on Mr. Dave Watkins. So I want to thank you, Dave, for joining us on this conversation and on this special episode for this month.
Hey, good to be back. Ready to talk about Freddy's Revenge.
Now, what in '85, this film was not intended to be a film that highlighted those type of themes, but over the course of its infamous journey through the film archives, this film has taken on a life of its own, sort of like what happened with the film Tank Girl, which I absolutely love as well as other films that tend to bring out themes that are more geared towards the gay and lesbian community, and they have taken on a life of their own, especially this film, which breaks a lot of the rules from the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and we're going to get into
Yeah,
that as we
yeah.
talk. So, Dave, I love to, kind of get your little mind bending on this film because I don't know when you first saw this film or what your impressions were. So please give us a little bit of information about that.
Yeah, so it was definitely one that I saw on television, edited. So I know I'd probably already seen the first one and the third one. And I saw this one and I always thought it was a little off. It was a little weird. It's not one that I thought I didn't think it was like horrible, but it was definitely not one that was as exciting to me as the third one was, or even the first one. But it's I don't know, it's something about. I mean, the thing that I've always remembered about is the scenes with the coach and all that, which the coach all of a sudden he goes into like the leather bar, and then there's the coach in there, and then he brings him back to the school, and the coach is all in this leather. I remember seeing that at the time and thinking, what is going on with this? Is this a dream? What is this? And it actually is something that's happening, and it's not a dream at all. But another weird thing about it is, unlike the other Freddy movies, like you said, it breaks all the rules. The most important rule that it breaks is Freddy does they bring him into the real world and out of the dream and pretty easily in this one, which is something that's unexpected to happen, and it kind of isn't really my favorite thing in the world when that happens.
No, I'll agree with you on that. Yeah, that's one of the things that I did not take. I didn't really care for either, but that became later on. I happen to have seen this film and it's on VHS tape. Somewhat, I either saw the first two together or I saw the first two or the first three together. I do not recall how or why, but I
Yeah,
do remember that my brother loved this franchise, having seen the first three. So I saw the first three, and this one had a lot of cool stuff in it. And I still thought that the franchise was scary with these first two movies. The third one I did not find scary at all. But these first two, the way they are shot, they still felt scary to me, even this one. And it was probably because it breaks every rule from the first film. Now, that being said, when this movie came out, I probably wasn't thinking about the rules of Freddy. It
Right.
was only in later years when I've been watching and rewatching these films as the new sequel came out. I rewatched them again and again and again. And then you start realizing that by the third and fourth film, they've created these rules, and the second film feels odd because it breaks the rules. I
Yeah,
don't,
well, it's like yeah, well, the director actually did he wasn't even aware of the rules to begin
yeah,
with.
yeah.
So to me this is almost like its own story. Kind of has Freddy in it, but it's almost like a different sort of story.
Yes, no. I know I feel the same way. I kind of think of that. I think of this as the movie. And don't laugh, everyone, when you hear me say this movie, but it makes me feel like Warlock the Armageddon, which essentially, Julian Sands plays the exact same character, but he doesn't play the same character, and he kind of creates his own rules in each
Yeah,
movie as he goes along. And so that's how I have to divorce myself from the Warlock character he played in the first one when I watched the second one. And
it's
so.
yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. That's a fun movie though, from what I
Oh
remember,
yeah. Oh,
Warlock 2. But
I love
I
the
remember
movie.
like yeah, I remember liking it when I was younger, and like a lot of my friends thought that was like the biggest piece of shit ever.
My
I was
friends do.
like,
My
yeah,
friends did too. They couldn't understand why I love those movies.
yeah,
We have
yeah.
not done those movies on this podcast just yet, but be forewarned, me and Dave, we'll get to those later. But that's how I approached this film. I approached this film now in that respects because I'm older now, and I'm not stuck with the rules that came through because by the time they had Freddy versus Jason and Wes Craven's New Nightmare, rules were made to be broken.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was a little surprised by watching it this time. It's weird because I felt like I watched it not too long ago, but it's been a longer time, I guess. But I didn't remember a lot of it, and so it was like it was a little lot different than I was remembering it when I was watching it. So
I saw this recently, right before the what's the actor's name? Mark Payton. Is that
yeah, yeah.
Mark Payton's? I had to write the Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street. I
Is it
rewatched
Peyton or
this.
is it spelled Pat? Is it Patton? Is it Peyton?
Patton.
It's
Sorry,
Patton.
Mark.
Okay.
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I'm the one usually doing that.
But I ended up watching the documentary, and after watching the documentary, I went back and rewatched this film, and I thought that this film was a lot better in hindsight now. When I'm growing up and you're watching part three, The Dream Warriors, which is a far superior film than any of the other sequels, pretty much. And then you watch the fourth and fifth one, and Freddy's dead. This one seems like the worst out of the bunch. It does. It literally seems like the worst of the bunch. But after watching that documentary, I gave this movie another chance, and I realized that this is one of the darker movies, and still is not playing towards the humor that would eventually take over the Freddy franchise. This was the humor is a dark sense of humor, even though what's happening to Jesse's character, played by Mark, is like this horrific experience. But a lot of the stuff that Shoulder, I think it's in name, Jack Shoulder,
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
did in this movie was humorous because it felt like one of those teen comedies. Like a
Yeah.
lot of stuff in there, it felt like a teen comedy. Like when Jesse is like dancing in his bedroom, that felt like a teen comedy from that era. That felt weird
Yeah.
in a horror movie. And there's
It yeah. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, but really though, it's like there's a lot of whether it's intentional or not, homoeroticism in the
yes,
film. Because there's a lot of scenes with him in his bedroom, waking up and just dripping, soaking wet,
hmm
glycerin all over him. And sometimes he'll be in his whitey tidies walking around the room,
yeah.
and it's like so it's there's a lot of that. And it's kind of like I think even the first time I saw it, I kind of picked up some of that when I was watching it. I know then it was now it's more popular to have that type of thing, but then if they'd actually come out and said that they were trying to be gay with this movie, it would have really done really bad at the theater.
I think the way they did it in the movie is very subtle and much more effective because in hindsight you can see how popular this movie has become now as a cult classic, as
Right.
opposed to, which is a strange term to say because this movie was hugely successful because it was a Freddy movie. It was the second Freddy movie at the time. So
Yeah, yeah, but it is kind of like the red-haired stepchild of the
yes,
bunch. So it's
yes,
but it's funny. It reminds me of like the code movies back in like the Maltese Falcon. You've seen that, right? With
yeah,
Peter
oh yeah,
Lorre's character, who's clearly homosexual, but they got it past the censors somehow
yes.
by like really downplaying it. Now the director claims in the interviews I've seen with the director that he wasn't aware of this. I think the writer might have been in on it. The actor is gay. Um, he may not have been at that time. He may have been closeted, but he played a gay character in a film before this, and that was like kind of why they cast him to begin with. Apparently, from what I read, he was up against Brad Pitt for this part.
Mm.
But I didn't. I read that somewhere, but I didn't actually see anybody say that in an interview. So hopefully it's true. So
Well, it'd be interesting for me to go back and watch this documentary on him, just to refresh myself. I did not have the chance to do that before talking about this.
that
Uh,
was that there was like a Nightmare on Elm Street documentary, Never Sleep Again. Is that the
yes.
one that you were watching? Yeah.
No, I was watching Scream Queen My Nightmare on Elm Street from 2019.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, yeah. There's apparently there's one called Never Sleep Again
Yes.
that I haven't
Yeah.
seen that one either.
Oh, you haven't seen that one? Yeah,
No.
so I remember it being very good. I saw when it was originally released, but I have not gone back to rewatch it again. So I can't be 100% sure. And then they've recently did another one with Robert England, did that I have not seen yet either. So I'm sure some stuff is in there as well. And he had a lot to say as well on the making of this film. So it'd be interesting to go back and watch that. But the thing is, when I saw this, I didn't think about any of that. In fact, I never thought about any of that until I started hearing the film's cult reaction from its audiences and how all this stuff tied in. And then when I went back and watched it again in 2019 or 20, somewhere around there, because I don't think I didn't see the documentary when it first came out, so I think I may have saw it about a year after it came out. When I watched it, then I was like, I can see a lot of the visual cues are in there. And so
Yeah.
it's like, if you knew that back then, you wouldn't have think it was really subtle.
Yeah.
Uh, but
It,
if you
yeah.
know the intention of the director and the writer, you're not thinking about that. But
Yeah, like I said, I don't think the director claims he
yeah,
didn't do it on purpose, but it's some of the dialogue is hilariously like it may not be on purpose, but some of it just comes off as really gay. Like I can feel him coming, and things like that. It's like
yeah,
sometimes it's like really, it's almost laughable at some points when it happens because it's like wow, that sounded like really like innuendo what they just said
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But,
And the thing is, now that we think about it, that becomes part of its deeper meaning, which actually gives the film a little bit more meaning than probably it was intending to be because it was a sequel to Nightmare on Elm Street. Uh,
yeah.
so it's probably got a lot more meaning now than it did on its original intention when it was originally released, which is actually a good thing. But it also sets it apart from all the other sequels in this franchise completely. I think this movie is probably talked about more than part five or part four, which
But
was
yeah, there are apparently a lot of fans of Part Four. Some people think that's the best one. I've seen people talking about it online, but I don't know.
I need to talk to those people because what are they smoking?
Yeah.
Uh, it has one of the best
Yeah.
death kills in it. The cockroach thing, but yeah,
Yeah. I think it all depends on like
you grew up.
how you saw it.
I
Like if
think
you
so too.
saw Part Four without seeing Part Three, you might think it was money. If that was like your kind of first experience with it.
That's an interesting way of putting it. I do believe that would be some reasons for certain things. Like I know people who think Halloween 4 is the best one because that was the first one they saw.
Right, right,
It,
yeah.
when that franchise was resurrected with part 4, they thought that was the greatest one because that was the first one they saw. They didn't go
Yeah.
back to watch the first 3. You know what? I would not be surprised. It's actually very interesting to bring something like that up.
Yeah, that's what my thought on it is because it's like for Part Four. I watched it again recently, back in October, I think, or something when I got the 4K set, and I liked it. I liked it better. than I was expecting it to. Because I really was like, I think we talked about this before, just the way that they kill off the Dream Warriors pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Always, yeah, it was like me to me that was like, man, I'm pissed. I can't even think about this movie because they killed them off. But it actually has some really good stuff. If you can get, to me that's my hang up. I don't think most people give a shit about it.
No, no,
But yeah,
no. There's, I guarantee, there's an audience out there like that who believe the same way you do because they have the same feelings about the Alien 3 debacle when they kill
yeah.
everyone off from the previous movie at the beginning of Alien 3.
Well, they do a lot better in Nightmare 4 than they do in Alien 3. Alien 3 was, oh my God.
Jesus. Well, in this movie, they write off the Nancy character right off the bat. It's
Yeah,
5 years after the event of the previous film, and Nancy supposedly has gone crazy. From what the rumors are in the high school that
yeah.
Jesse goes to. It's interesting that at some point Nancy found time to write a diary because she does not seem like the diary keeping type, but that's okay.
Yeah. So it was,
So essentially,
yeah,
the just to get everyone online, if you haven't bothered to watch this, which would be kind of weird, but the Jesse character and his family are recently lived or moved into the house that Nancy's family owned in the previous film. So much so that Jesse hasn't even bothered to unpack his boxes of stuff, and he's already experiencing this heat wave in the house, as well as the fact that he's suffering from nightmares. So,
yeah.
uh,
There's before the very first scene of the movie is like a dream
mhm.
sequence. Other than like what you're saying there, but it's like it is interesting that he moves into Nancy's house, but they did start off with the dream sequence on a bus, which is weird in that scene. Like Jesse, to me, he looks different than he does in the rest of the movie. His hair looks different. It looks like it's black or something, doesn't it?
Does
Or
he looks like almost like a goth kid sitting in
yeah,
the back of the bus, with the other girls in the bus looking at him like and comment that he's the strange one.
yeah.
It does seem kind of weird.
They say that that's even more like homoerotic style, like yeah, kind of hint. It's just like he's the strange one, like he's gay, so he's gonna sit in the
No,
back of the
I mean,
bus. Yeah,
I bring that up because of that. I mean,
yeah,
those are some of the themes that people bring up now. Like, this is the two girls in the bus are the popular kids, and the odd person out is looked at very differently than everyone else. He's back in the bus, doesn't isn't talking to anyone. It's kind of like not seen and not heard because he doesn't actually talk in this whole sequence.
yeah.
And I wouldn't have thought of anything of it if I hadn't seen the documentary. So yes, I see that now, and I
Yeah.
can't unsee it now.
No,
Like,
there's a lot. Like I mean, like I said, the biggest clue like is that leather bar or that that they go into is but once, but really like the main character or the actor and the way that he plays him is very effeminate, and it's always kind of it's kind of effeminate is probably the best way to describe it. It doesn't seem like yeah, every other Nightmare on Elm Street film has the protagonist is a female or a woman or a girl or teenager, whatever. But it's like here, it's a guy, but he acts like a woman a lot of times.
no, especially with his scream.
Yeah,
I mean, it's literally the thing that is a motif throughout here. His family hears him screaming upstairs, or he screams in the school, or he's screaming.
yeah,
He screams a lot, like a scream queen.
yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Like I mean, that's literally the name of the documentary, Scream Queen.
yeah, yeah.
So yes, though, and I kind of always wondered why they did that to make because we're so used to seeing the female characters as this, and they switched to it's a welcome difference.
Well, yeah,
But yeah,
I think it. Well, I think the thing is it's not we're used to seeing it, but here this is only the second one, and the main reason that I think that they did it is because their idea died, and this is like the idea is to turn Freddy Krueger into this kid. Now, they did not necessarily want to keep Robert Englund at first. And the idea was to make a new Freddy Krueger. Now, unlike say, Jason and Michael, they can cast anybody they want to. They don't have to have like connections between them. And even in Friday the 13th, when they had a returning character like Tommy Jarvis, they sometimes not because of choice, but they'd almost always have to cast a different actor. But that here they were trying to turn this kid into Freddy Krueger, which is unique to this movie, and
Yeah,
that was the idea. That was the different idea. It was like, what if Freddy Krueger could come into the real world? How does he do it? In order to do it, he has to take over another person's body, which is not like that original of an idea. We've seen it in a lot of other type of horror movies,
yeah,
but
possession movies and stuff
yeah,
like.
possession movies that for something to come into the real world. But it makes sense logically for the writers to want to do that, you know. And in order to do it, they probably thought that it needed to be a guy because Freddy's a guy, and for him to
Yeah,
connect with it on that type of level, that it would, you know, that was probably how it goes. And there's also he has a kind of a love interest, Lisa, in this film, who is eventually once Jesse becomes the villain, she becomes the protagonist in the second part of the film.
yeah, yeah, which
But
is interesting because the very first time we hear about Lisa, Lisa comments to her friend that their relationship is just strictly platonic, and she's just using him as a ride to school. So
which yeah, yeah, you gotta wonder how the heck that even happened. You know, how did that they even end up like he just has moved into the neighborhood, and it should be her bringing him to school, you know, because it's like it's
well, it should be that way because obviously, because the party takes place at their house, she's really rich.
yeah,
And so you would wonder her parents should already have given her a car instead of driving to school with Jesse in his beat up car in which he doesn't even have a key to. Uh,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so yeah, it's like that's one of the weirdest things. Like obviously something you don't think about when you're watching the movie, but it's really weird that he just has moved into this neighborhood and suddenly there's this random girl who just comes to his house and she's kind of a little aggravated about having to ride to school with him.
yeah, because well, it almost seems like, and this is where I think there's some issues with the continuity because she sees his car. It's like she it's like her first time ever getting in his car, and
Yeah.
so she reacts like so. It's like, oh, you don't have a key to your car, but then she tells her best friend, oh, I just use him for a ride to school. Well, if you've been using him for a ride to school, you would know that he doesn't have a key to his fucking car. Uh,
Yeah.
I never noticed that until I rewatched it just for this podcast. Those little details like that, because I was trying to pick up on all the stuff that I hadn't thought about since 2000, I guess 6 years ago when I last saw this movie. And so I wanted to be much more prepared to bring out some of these ideas, and I started seeing stuff like that pop
Yes,
up.
yeah, it's always fun to see. It's not necessarily fun, but it's always funny though to see those type of continuity errors. And when you're watching it to critique it, especially taking notes on it, you're like, what's up with that
Yeah.
exactly? And I
Well,
don't, yeah, it's like to me that this script is uneven to me anyway. Just the way that it switches the protagonist later on. Um, because it maybe should have been focusing on her the whole time if she's the one that had to eventually like fight Freddy, even though he takes over somebody else. But it reminds me of remember that movie The Church,
yeah,
the yeah, we did that, we did an episode on that one. But the way that the protagonist of that film becomes possessed and becomes a villain, and then the second half he's not really in it that much.
yeah.
But it's not necessarily the case here. He's in it the whole movie, but she definitely becomes more in the second half of the film, becomes more of like the
Yes, because
person. Yeah,
yeah. Oh no, most definitely. It's kind of like the thing is the other odd thing about this film is that the person he doesn't really like, which is the Grady character, because they're
yeah.
not friends, suddenly become friends after they get into a huge fight on the baseball field. I was like, that's kind of odd.
Well,
They almost kind of
yeah,
like best friends. I was like, this
yeah,
is just really odd.
yeah.
So there is some odd things that happen in this film. I'm not gonna say they're bad things; they're just odd things.
Well, you know, I mean, that type of mentality though is been in movies for a long time. Go back to westerns and stuff, where it was more of a admiration when you get into a fight with somebody else, and then you have more of an admiration for them. Like it, another movie I think of is that geez, there's like this movie with Paul Newman and George Kennedy, and they're in prison, and then they get in this big throwdown fight, and then they end up being friends right after that. Damn, I can't forget the name of that movie. But is it HUD or maybe no, it's not HUD. It's Well,
I can't.
another good example I do know the name of is John Carpenter's They Live,
They live.
where they get in a real awesome fight that goes on forever, and
Goes up.
then they're friends after that. But I mean,
But you know,
in real life though, when you get in a fight with somebody, you're pissed off at them, especially if you don't win. You're kind of mad about it, you know?
you
It's,
know what? No, no. But you bring up They Live They Live is a great example because those two characters work with each other, and then they can't stand each other until they get in the fight, and then they kind of see eye to eye. That is very similar to the Grady and Jesse relationship because they only go to school together, and they're not really friends until they get into that fight, and the coach forces them to do those push-ups. So they're
yeah,
sitting next to each other talking about all the shit that's going on around them and at school and shit. And this is not they do it I think twice where they're
yeah,
stuck
yeah,
out there doing the push-ups and they're talking about their coach. And this is I bring this up because there's a conversation that they have where Grady picks on Jesse saying that he Jesse gets picked on because shit. He's because the coach is thinks he's the new pretty boy, and stuff like that that I would have never thought about until after all the stuff about the movie came out. So
yeah, yeah. The coach, geez, what was that guy's name? Marshall Bell. Yeah, he's played by Marshall Bell. Um,
Coach Snyder.
yes, Coach Schneider. I recognize him for some other stuff, but I remember in Stand By Me he plays the main character's dad who tells him that like River Phoenix's character Chris, like he said that he stole the lunch money at school. That's a thief in my book, you know. Like he's real judgmental, but he's not in it that much. But it definitely sticks out as that character. But here he plays yes Coach Schneider, who's hard riding the kids pretty hard, but like you know it's he just kind of like for a while it just seems like he's just kind of he don't seem like he's really off. Like he eventually is. There turns out to be kind of a pedophile or something.
Mm-hmm.
But at first, he just seems like he's kind of got their best interest in mind. Like he wants them to have discipline, and you know if they do something wrong, they're having to do push-ups, and he's trying to get them to work out. And he seems like a hard coach, but he doesn't seem like kind of like the basketball diaries coach who turns out to be
Oh
a
no,
molester. You know, he's
no,
kind of like that though. I think.
no. I
Even though it
kind of
doesn't
thought
go that far, but
no, no, no. Yeah, no. I don't. No, no. It's not like that. Or like the what's his face in Whiplash.
yeah, yeah,
So, no. You know what? I can imagine that back then the coaches being like that. Because the PE was a real class back when I was growing up in the 80s.
oh
It's
yeah,
not a real class anymore.
yeah. It's an elective now. I think they have it
Yeah,
like
it's like
once a
they made you.
year.
Yeah, they made you work for that A. When I
Yeah,
was growing up, I was like, shit, I gotta do
yeah.
5 miles of walking or running. Hell.
It's
But yeah, no, I can see that definitely. The way he was for the most part, because there are, obviously there's some hidden secrets behind the coach that we see come out when Freddy actually uh uh has his way with him, so to speak.
yeah, yeah,
But the thing about Jesse is that even in his family unit, even his younger sister thinks he's weird, and of course his father does too. The mother is the only one who seems like he's normal, he's just like any other high school kid, but that kind of family dynamic kind of reinforces some of these ideals and themes as you're watching the movie. Especially later, not only when his father makes him, instead of going over to Lisa's house, makes him clean up his room
yeah.
before we get the infamous dance sequence.
Well, that's another thing about the parents. It spends a lot of time in the first half of the movie with the parents
Yeah.
and the sister, and suddenly they disappear from the movie completely.
Hmm.
And once it gets into the second half of the film, and it never really shows them again.
I thought that was weird too. I didn't
Yeah,
notice that until I rewatched it. When I was
yeah,
rewatching, I was like, "Oh, they just kind of disappear."
yeah. I think it might show them maybe one more time at the end, but they got a pretty good bit of scenes going on, and there's like some conflict between them and Jesse just because of everything going on in the house and the way he starts to act.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
Go ahead.
So he starts having nightmares at the house. The first nightmare, other than the bus one, that one's the first one it starts off with. But then Freddy comes up to him, and he mentions, he says, "You've got the body, and I've got the brain," and he takes off part of his head and shows him inside of his brain, which is a pretty cool effect.
Hmm.
But that's a line that they used in the Nightmare on My Street song, where the Fresh Prince and DJ
Yeah.
Jazzy Jeff did. You know, he's like, "You've got the body, and I've got the brain," and it's like the souls of your friends and all that, you know. And then it's like, but he doesn't say all of it in it, but that's where that line comes from in that song.
Oh my God. What was first, the
Yeah.
song or the movie?
But well, this movie came first because the song
Okay.
was in 1988. This is 1985, right?
Oh yeah, this
Yeah.
is 85. Jesus.
Yes. So I mean, the idea of the song actually comes from this movie. The idea of Freddy Krueger taking over someone's body, because in the song "Nightmare on My Street," that's what he's doing to Will Smith's character.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, I do remember that fondly. Since that's when for me, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince really broke out.
yeah. We were listening to that all the time, man. It was a good one, but
Yeah, and I don't think I recognized the fact that that line came from this movie until you
yeah,
just said that.
yeah. It's still I still listen to that song around Halloween sometimes. It's on a Halloween playlist. You know, I got it on there. It's pretty good.
I don't think I've heard
It's
that song in like, oh, what year is it now?
yeah, it's way in the
30
future
years,
from
30
when it
plus
came out.
years at least. Jesus. But the interesting thing about these nightmares that Jesse has is like he screams so loudly that after a while the parents and even his sister just tend to just dismiss it. Uh, but
Yeah,
eventually the heat, the heat that he complains about eventually starts to affect them as well, and it leads to that incident where the bird gets loose because it's so fucking hot and attacks his
yeah.
father and stuff.
But the bird
But
like explodes too.
yeah, yeah.
But that was like the weirdest scene for me because I thought it was a dream until it wasn't a dream. It cut to the next scene. I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't a dream. He's not gonna wake up from this.
Interesting. I never thought about that. Huh.
But then I was like, okay, something's going on past the dream. I mean, they never really get in the heat and things catching on fire, which clearly has to do with Freddy, but they never really follow through with it on the later part of the film. It's almost like they seem like they needed another scene to deal with it because they had the bird, then they have the toaster later catch on fire, and then they just like never return to the house.
Interesting. I didn't think about that. I just remember the dream sequence where everything is so melting. Um,
Yeah, the record melts.
yeah,
Yeah,
the candles are melted, the record's melting, everything's melting, and then of course that shows up later in the boiler room scene in the third act. But I'm like, I think it's the only thing I can think about in that whole thematic thing with the whole heat is that it's a precursor to Freddy coming. And then of
yeah,
course there's that scene where we actually follow Jesse down outside because he thinks he hears something. He goes outside and he goes to a window to his basement to see Freddy putting something in or taking something out of the boiler for the house.
yeah.
And then of course he goes back inside to go down in the basement. But he obviously says, "Yeah, nah, I'm not gonna do all that shit," uh, which is quite funny in my opinion because we don't see that too often. We would have seen him walk down there, and that's where he encountered Freddy. But he tries to not go down there, and he encounters Freddy anyways. And then of course we all realize it's another dream because we've already explained him pulling off his
Yeah.
skull.
That's what he asked me. He's like, "You've got the body, and I've got the brain."
So, so this is where I say that it's visually a very dark movie, the way it's filmed and the way it feels, because it still feels like a horror movie, whereas most of the other sequels never get back to that. Part five tries its best to be a really dark cinematography film and dark material, but it's by the fifth film, people are like, "Yeah, who cares about a dream child?" Uh,
Freddy's makeup's really good in this one.
yeah.
It's a little different than the first one, but it's just pretty impressive the way that it looks.
Yes. I noticed that too. It does seem a little different. I wasn't sure if it was or not, because we hadn't talked about the first film. I can't remember when we did the first film. I think last year, is when we did an episode on the first film. So it's been a while. But yeah, I thought the makeup was different as well. It almost feels like they just hired a whole new, and this could be what happened. They hired a whole new crew to put together this sequel.
Well,
Uh,
I did watch an interview with the makeup artist. He said that he started doing some research on burn victims and really tried to like make it look more like a burn victim. For the clearly couldn't do his nose or anything because a person's nose would be burned off, but he wanted to keep the nose and keep the eyelids. But he has a it does look a lot more like a burn victim than the first film.
Interesting, interesting.
But after that though, that's when the unpacking thing happens and the dance thing you're talking about, the dance montage of
Which
the room, which is like
which
a
I cannot dismiss the fact that it has a lot of homoerotic imagery in that dance sequence, especially with the song. I wasn't even paying attention to the song until this time. I've never paid attention to that
what
damn
is
song.
the song?
I wish I knew the words,
Yeah,
but when you're listening to it, it definitely feels like, okay, this is the wrong song that this guy should be dancing to begin with. It's a song that's geared towards the female audience. Uh,
yeah,
I can't remember all the words, but I was like, okay, this is an odd song for him to be dancing with too, anyways. So
yeah.
yes, I
It's risky business. Tom Cruise danced like that kind of in a lot better way
yeah, well,
in 1983.
that's what I thought that they were trying to emulate when they did this was that to be honest with you, I've never seen Risky Business. I've only seen that couple of
Yeah.
scenes, the famous scenes from it, but I've never actually seen the whole
It's a good movie, man. Yeah, it's a good. I watched it. They got a new Criterion 4K release of it. You saw that?
I have it on Blu-ray too. I just
Yeah,
haven't watched it
yeah.
yet.
No, it's a good movie though. It's a lot better than I thought it was. It's pretty funny, but he yeah, but they kind of like that. And oh, another like it's funny in this when the girl comes in and sees him doing that. There's
Yeah.
another. This has happened later than this. That Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. The opposite happened with the girl was doing it and the guy sees her do dancing like that, which it kind of was a more endearing to me. Just that particular scene in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and this was like she comes in and he looks like a real fool, but apparently she thinks it was cute.
Yeah, well, so I had forgotten it happened in that, but I was thinking more that this is the exact same type of scene that happened in, if you remember, Stephen King's Sleepwalkers, when the main character Mädchen Amick is dancing in
Oh yeah,
the movie theater when she comes across Brian Krause,
yeah,
and that
exactly. Yeah,
I get a sense that
yeah,
this is a very common trope.
yeah,
But normally it's the female doing the dancing and the male catching.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so
Clearly, I mean, but like Sleepwalkers and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids were after this
yeah,
film. But I
yeah,
don't know. There's probably some other films where this happened before this,
yeah,
more than likely. Because yeah, because he looks very gay when he's doing the dancing, and then she comes in and she sees him, and she's like, "Oh, how cute is that?" But then,
yeah, with the pop of the weird thing that he's playing with. I don't know what that was. I
yeah,
still don't know what the fuck that was that he's playing with. That
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
did, yeah. I did write it down what it was he's playing with. He puts on a goofy hat and glasses, and
yeah,
the hat has an R on it. I don't know what R stands for, but it's
yeah. So if you had any doubts, this scene right here is the scene that kind of cements the thematic of this film. Just the way this character just that happens, despite the fact that he has a love interest in the Lisa character. And the thing is, I actually think these two actors and characters actually have good chemistry. It's just the way that they're handled in the film that just appears weird to me. Now, um,
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's definitely some parts of this film where the acting, especially from her, is a little flat. I think that in the last half of the movie, she really brings it back, really
yeah,
brings it. But there's definitely some flatness to the way that she's delivering the lines that
in like
maybe
the
is
first act, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Even like it would it It's just when it gets even in the middle, it's like she's just trying to hold back any type of emotion for some reason. And then in the second half, she gets really emotional for a long period of time. It's almost like they're pushing her really hard to get emotional in the second part of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes. I think a lot of that comes with the writing and her inexperience beforehand. I mean, because think about what the first film and even the supporting characters to Nancy's characters have a lot of character, have a lot of personality to them.
Yeah,
Whereas this one, it she doesn't have a lot of personality until after we are forced to see her and Jesse together. Uh,
yeah.
and they're not just platonic friends, you
That
know.
yeah, the actress playing her friend's name's Carrie. We see her like a few times throughout. She has quite a personality, but
Yes, he does.
when you see her, even though she's not in it that much, when you see her, it's just kind of like you can kind of just feel the personality coming out of her.
Well, yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting because you brought her up. The scene with her and Lisa and Jesse, they're walking in the hallways.
yeah, yeah,
You're thinking that there should be three girls walking in the hallway with the conversation they're having, but they have him there. Uh,
yeah,
uh, but
yeah,
but with the few scenes she has, she brings her character to life.
yeah,
In scenes like that, the scenes at the pool when she's talking to Lisa about Jesse, and even at the very final scene of the movie where we see the real cryptic fate of everyone.
yeah. It's kind of weird that she doesn't get like a good death scene in this because
Yeah.
it's like there's only really two big death scenes, and then there's like that pool like thing that happens. But it's like other than that, it's like you would think that she would have been one that would be one of the ones that would get killed, especially since they show
Well, no,
her a pretty good bit. So
I do. I was rewatch when I was rewatching this. I was wondering the same damn thing. I never wondered it before, because of the big pool sequence. Which we have to admit, the pool sequence where Freddy's just killing people is a great sequence there. Uh,
yeah,
you are all my children. I mean,
yeah,
dude, that's
yeah, yeah,
like an iconic little iconic scene and imagery right there when he does all that. But it's almost kind of ruined when you try to figure out how the hell does Freddy interact with the real world? Like, yeah, all these
yeah,
people are seeing this guy just appear and disappear. Uh,
yeah. Right, yeah, yeah, and yeah, they I guess like that's what they were. Wes Craven and most people involved with this had like a real issue with that sequence because of those questions, and they apparently it was originally written to be a daytime scene. Can you imagine? I mean, why the hell would they have it at day during the daytime? It's
that would be
because there's like a lot of people talking about behind the scenes stuff, and they were upset about this daytime pool scene with people getting killed and Freddy coming into the real world. And it's like, why? I mean, maybe somebody accidentally put day in the script and never meant for it to be day. I don't know.
well, you know what? I could see it being a day scene because it could be a day scene so that by the time Jesse has killed or Jesse slash Freddy has killed Grady, and then he goes and off he becomes full Freddy and all that type of stuff. That would be at night, but the pool sequence could be during the day because for some reason Lisa doesn't mention because she's left the pool. She
Yeah,
doesn't know any of the shit that happened in her own house uh,
yeah,
from then
yeah,
on. See, it's just certain things like that are just odd,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
It's just odd. You don't think about that, or at least I didn't think about that when this movie came out, and for a long time afterwards. It's only I think about it now, after what 8 fucking
Yeah,
sequels.
yeah. Well, a lot of times when you're watching the movies and too, you're not really putting all the pieces together as far as logistics. Because it's like the pool's Lisa's parents' pool, which was established earlier on in the movie. But if you're not paying attention, you might not know whose house they're at. You might not. And it's also weird that they're having this big pool party outside and nobody's inside.
Only the
So,
parents.
yeah, the parents are upstairs asleep, and then that's kind of odd though, because you think people would still have to go to the bathroom and stuff, so they'd have to keep the open downstairs, you know.
Absolutely right. I didn't think about that. There's absolutely nobody in that house. They never go in that house. And I can't remember if they actually mentioned why she's having a big pool party.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like it is kind of, yeah, I don't know. There's some mention maybe, but but yeah, I mean it's kind of a point. Yeah, I don't know. I
You
mean,
only really know it's her house because she mentions her conversation with her best friend that she wants to go see how Jesse's doing after he left. And her friend tells her to go leave her own party, and that's why it was like, oh, okay, it's her party. Okay.
yeah,
uh
yeah, yeah. You kind of forget about it. You also like because the parents are not really established very good, even though they play a bigger part during that pool sequence, but they're not really connected too good with her at some part until after all hell breaks loose, and then you kind of see them together some.
so
So, but at the
uh
same time, it's like, are they her parents or what's going on? You know, it's like,
I remember, did we actually see her
yeah,
parents?
yeah, well, yeah, because they
We
come
saw
out
them
and
when they were in their room.
yeah,
And they say they're going
yeah,
upstairs to go to bed, and then that guy cranks up the music. It's our God.
yeah, yeah. Right. Yeah, there actually some talk about it. They're talking about her and her friend and somebody else are talking about it at one point during it, talking about how this her dad, uh, I guess he barbecued or made drinks or something like that. He was like known for doing that. But then it was like it was weird that it was all like talked about, but then you didn't see the connection between her and her dad, and because they could have done it. They could have in that scene when she was at her house in the pool. They could have been a scene with the dad, making him kind of a character
Yeah.
because he does come out and do like he does come out and kind of save the kids, from Freddy
Mm.
because he shoots him with a shotgun
Yeah, that's right.
or
That's
or he
right.
doesn't actually shoot him, but he comes out and breaks it up, and he, so he does save everybody, but then that's it.
That's about it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
almost forgot about that. You're right. You're right.
yeah,
Uh, because the only thing I can see, I kept thinking about is Grady's parents. When Grady, so
right.
after Jesse leaves the her house, after Freddy's tongue comes out while they're trying to
Uh,
make out.
so it's yeah. So there's like the scene like that's some. He's like it's funny how he's got his face like planted in her boobs and he's going down and then he comes up and then Freddy's tongue just flops out of his mouth and it's like he's like can't do it, it's almost that's another like one of those scenes that just screams like he's trying really hard to be with her
Yep.
and everything's looking pretty good and then suddenly not he can't do it, it goes limp, his tongue
Well,
goes limp and
yeah, his tongue goes limp, and from all intents and purposes, that's what she thinks happens to him, which is why he rushes out so fast. Um,
yeah.
so the undercurrent of the film is actually, he's gone a little crazy because he's thinking about this whole Freddy thing that's about his house, blah 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 blah. But we don't get that until the next scene when she goes to see him at his house, or not the next scene, but later on because Jesse has to go to Grady's house first.
Which
But
is which is really weird because like Grady earlier on says he doesn't go to the party, he's just going to go to sleep or whatever. So he's asleep while the party's going on, and he just appears in Grady's room like all the way up on his bed to wake him up. Like, how did he get in his house, and how does he know where he lives? And it's like, and he's in his
yeah,
room, like,
I didn't wonder that until this time either. I was like, how do you know where Grady lives? Like they might be friends at school, but we haven't seen them interact outside of school, so it's kind of weird that he
yeah,
knows where he Grady lives and he just sneaks in his room.
yeah. And that's like and that's a really gay scene when he ends up like over his bed like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. Which is, it's kind of funny for me because I love Robert Russler, because he did one of my favorite movies, which is Vamp. I've seen that movie way too many times. Way
Vamp, yeah.
too many
Was
times.
he? I saw it one time. Was it that um was, has the
He's a friend. He's the friend.
yeah, he's one of the friends. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it. I remember it has like was
Oh,
it the guy from Goonies in it, right?
yeah.
That's it.
So the thing about, I think he does a really good job in this movie, probably because of that for me. He's in a lot of shit that I've seen him in. But the thing is, I've always I always liked him and I always thought this was a weird scene in this movie with him. I've always thought it was a weird scene. It was just odd to me. Um, just
Yeah, and yeah. I mean, another weird thing about it is he comes in there and he's wanting to stay there because he's worried that something's gonna happen to him. I guess he doesn't want to go to sleep. But we haven't really seen a lot of this struggle, and I mean, we've seen some of it, but in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, it's all about staying awake. It
yeah.
just kind of seems like kind of a second afterthought here because it's not really him going to sleep doesn't necessarily
No.
is what's going to change him into Freddy. But at the same time, there's a few times where they do call back to that where he tries to drink more coffee or take like no dose or something, and then here he's like telling him he wants him to stay awake or something, and then
So
um yeah,
yeah, it was odd. I thought this felt like the scene in the first one where Nancy has Johnny Depp's character. I can't keep think of
all
his
right. Yeah,
name.
Johnny Depp's character, yeah.
Johnny Depp's
Yeah,
character
yeah.
uh trying to keep him awake, keep her awake, but he dozes off and then he gets killed. And so I
Yeah.
kind of saw that as this scene, like Jesse Grady is supposed to keep Jesse awake, but he falls asleep. And the thing is, he doesn't really fall asleep in this. I don't get the impression that Grady ever falls asleep in this. I get the impression that Jesse falls
Yeah.
asleep, becomes Freddy, and then kills Grady, and that's weird to me. You know,
Yeah.
it's odd because Freddy's not killing Grady in his dreams; he's killing
Yeah.
the real world. Um,
It's a really cool cool scene, but it's a really cool makeup effects when he
yes.
actually changes. He actually peels off Jesse's body and comes out of it. It's pretty awesome.
Well, yeah, the first thing you see is the eyeball through Jesse's mouth, and then
Yeah.
you see his arm become Freddy. The skin peels off after the finger claws come out of his fingers. And it's a it's a great sequence. It's a great sequence. And when he peels off Jesse's skin, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the special effects are cool in this one. It's and like in this and then his parents show up at the door. It's like what is it? Like was that the Ferris Bueller's dad? Is that who that
Yes.
actor? Yeah, actor that played Ferris Bueller's dad. He's knocking on the door and then he stabs through the door, the claw through Jesse. I mean through his friend. It was his friend Grady through the door, and then it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool sequence, and that's one of the two bigger deaths of the film.
Yeah.
There is some the special effects are even though there's only a couple of death scenes, there a lot of them are used for these Freddy mutations and things like that. The makeup. Here's some kind of funny dialogue that happens before Grady dies when he comes into the room. He's like Jesse says, I'm scared, Grady. Something is trying to get inside of my body. And then Jesse's like, yeah, she's female and she's waiting for you over at the cabana talking about
Yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you want to sleep with me. So it's like because he wants to stay there, but that's almost like they know that it's goofy what he's doing, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
it gets more readily apparent as you watch the film. If you weren't really aware of it when you first saw the film, some of this stuff seems a little odd to you as you're watching it in '86. I think it was 85,
yeah,
85.
yeah,
But
85, yeah.
definitely now, watching it, you pick up on all the subtleties that were there. Now, I don't know if it makes you enjoy the film more or not enjoy the film at all. I don't know. Uh, for me, this makes the film a much better than it was when I grew up watching it. Because you see that they were trying to do something with this movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I guess they were maybe trying to like write their own rules with it and kind of do something different than the original one. Because that was, I mean, the idea was just bring Freddy into the real world and how are we going to do it?
yeah,
Um,
I will not say anything bad about the whole idea of bringing Freddy in the real world and the whole possession aspect to it, and seeing it a slow progression, kind of like I can't describe it exactly, but I kind of like I don't mind it. I just the only thing I kind of didn't really click with is the fact of what kind of jump starts it all. Because there is no jump starting aspect. We're only privy to the very first thing we see is him having a nightmare, uh,
Yeah.
where he's on a school bus. And
Well,
then
I think, well, yeah, yeah, you're right. There's not like an inciting incident that
it's not,
causes it to
yeah,
happen. But
yeah,
there, I mean, it's clearly he's in Nancy's room and he
yeah,
gets her diary. But it's like those, I think just being there and being exposed to that is what causes it. But there's not like a very specific thing that just like, like say jump starts it. So,
I would think, just in my own opinion, if if they made mention that that room was really Nancy's mother's room, and it's because that's where they burned Freddy in the last film before he disappeared because he burns up his Nancy's mother in the bed and it disappears. I'll say, oh, okay, so maybe Freddy's spirit is trapped in the room where she burnt the shit out of him. Uh,
it's very unclear though how that ended though, because it's still kind of like it, ends with a nightmare again. So,
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that was kind of a tacked on thing that Wes Craven was forced to
yeah, yeah,
tack on ending. Kind of like this movie has a very similar thing as well
yeah,
at
yeah.
the end. So
Right,
what's
yeah,
real and what's not, or who's dreaming, who's not, that type of thing. Because the one thing that works both in both films is that the characters don't seem like any of them are in a dream, or whose dream is it if it is a dream, type of thing. And I really like that about the ending of both the movies. So
yeah, yeah. It definitely has a different feel than the other one, and it does have a. You can tell when he's in a nightmare. It's always Jesse having the nightmare, and it's always like, and when he wakes up, it's like, other than like when the bird stuff starts to happen and the toaster stuff, but then it's like, okay, things are starting to happen in the real world
yeah,
too. There's that one dream when he goes into his sister's room and she's like jumping on the jump ropes doing Freddy's Coming for You, the song,
yeah.
it's like, but yeah, but let's
Where
see.
okay, where
Yeah.
were we at?
Well, I guess like, and we should, I think we should like talk about the ending, but then we should talk about the coach scene last because that's the scene I think that is really like the most homoerotic stuff. But this what happens after that, then and then earlier that she does bring him to this where Freddie used to work apparently. There's like
Mhm.
a power plant with a big
Well,
furnace thing in the bottom, boiler room in the bottom of it. And they go and check that out earlier, and then they don't find anything out. She's like really, that character's funny because she really likes the diary, and he actually gets the diary from him, reads it all, and is doing her own research on everything. And so all that stuff happens off screen, so we don't have to actually see somebody learn it all. She just comes up with all the information and dumps it on his lap, like
yeah,
here's what's up. It's and we find out some stuff about what happened with Nancy and her mom and in real life, and like her mom, I guess her mom died,
yep.
and I think it seems like the way that it's said, it seemed like her mom lived past the first one, but then died later on. It's the way it sounds like.
If I'm not mistaken, that's the story that they say in the third one as well.
Yeah. I think they maybe keep continuity with that. I think they even keep the continuity with Nancy ending up in an insane asylum and then overcoming it and becoming a doctor. I think that's
Yeah,
kind of
she
what
was. Yeah,
happens.
yeah, she was in
Yeah.
a hospital, is what they call it, a
Yeah.
hospital, which is why she takes the sleeping pills and can diagnose herself and all that type of stuff. Yeah, but we'll get into that one later. We'll
Yeah.
definitely talk about part three because we're all really looking forward to that one.
But then, yeah, she goes, when she gets there, well, it's actually kind of funny. Before she gets there, and after Freddie goes to the pool and disappears again, and then her parents are like, there, and then she just goes and gets in the car and drives off, and no one's like, oh, where's she going or anything. Um, but then she goes to the boiler room, and then she walks up here. This is the oddest thing, which I think is a cool little bit, but there's like two dogs there that have human faces for some reason.
mhm.
What do you make of that? Because it's not like she's not in a dream as far as we can tell.
No, and that's the thing that bugs me too. There's some of the stuff that bugs me now that didn't bug me when I was growing up. It bugs me now because people have told me about how really screwed up continuity is and one of some of the ideals behind the film. Because it's not a dream, you shouldn't be seeing stuff like that. Uh, but
Yeah.
I can't explain it, dude. I don't think anyone
Yeah.
logically can explain it. it
Right. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
There's a lot that happens there. It's all dreamlike. She goes into
yeah,
the boiler room. It looks really good though. That set looks cool. And all the stuff that's happening looks cool, but it's not a dream. It's like why is it happening? Freddy. I guess the only way you can explain this is Freddy coming into the real world brings the dreams into the real world too. That's the only kind of explanation I got for it that could
yeah, because
work.
Freddy has some interesting abilities in the dream in the real world, which like he didn't have in the last movie. When he came out of the dream world in the last movie, he was just like anyone else, which is
Yeah.
how Nancy was more or less able to destroy him. That and the fact that they do keep up with the continuity that if that they give Freddy the power to do what he does, which makes sense if he's still in the dream world. But when he comes out in the real world, it doesn't seem like in theory
Yeah.
at the pool, uh, at at the pool. Wait a second. I just thought of something that's really weird, and I didn't think about it until just now. Because after Freddy comes out of Jesse at Grady's house, or wherever the fuck Grady's house is, he just appears at Lisa's place, right?
Well, no, no, no. What happens is he goes there and then he returns back to normal Jesse. He comes back to Lisa's and then he's like, and then
Shit,
he
that's
come,
right because she's
yeah,
covered in blood.
yeah, yeah. He
Covered
comes
in
back
blood.
covered in blood and there's like a real dramatic thing and she's like, I think that's then she starts telling him that she loves him or something
Yeah,
or
she's
that, yeah,
well,
yeah.
she says it, but she really means it in the very, very last scene to bring him back out of that. But see, that's where now it doesn't make any sense to me because Freddy is just jumping in and out of Jesse's body in the real world, in the dream world. Oh, I didn't realize how screwed up all this logic was until
Well, I
now.
think it's when he turns back into Jesse in Grady's room.
Yeah,
But it's weird the way, yeah, I mean, it's cool the way he peels off Jesse's
yeah.
body, but you think once he peeled off Jesse's body, that would be it, you know? He'd be Freddy, but he's able to peel the body off, turn back into Jesse, and then Jesse turns into him again
It turns
later
into.
on. Yeah.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
and then he actually starts begging, at that point, he starts begging Lisa to kill him, and it starts like the fish catch, like the boil the fish's water. That's when the hot stuff comes back again. The pool
Yeah.
outside starts boiling. Well, it would have been cool if the pool outside started boiling and it actually boiled the people in it. That would have been pretty cool. But the hot dogs catch on fire and the beers like start
Yeah.
popping,
Start popping. Yeah.
All that's established before that happens. So it's kind of cool that they established some things like that before the payoffs. But
Well, yeah, because like I said, that whole pool sequence was a very exciting sequence for a lot of people when the movie came out. Uh
yeah,
like it, you kind of forget the fact that Freddy doesn't really kill many people in this film because you have that pool sequence there.
right. Yeah, he does kill like several people there. It's hard to say how many people he actually kills, but he killed at least like three or four, if not more than that.
Yeah, and it kind of it seems like it goes against what we could think of Freddy being this guy who kills people for not just for fun, but in later movies based on what their dreams are and their personalities. And in this pool sequence, he's like a fucking mass murderer, just slicing people up for no apparent.
Yeah, yeah. Right, right.
I didn't think about it, none of the logic kind of got to me until I rewatched it. I don't, none of it really like I, none of the logic really destroys the movie for me. But it does draw attention to itself. Like
Yeah.
you start thinking about it, it draws attention to itself.
I
I'm
got and there's
sure.
like that yeah. There's like that one guy that tries to talk him down
Yes.
and he gets a moment and he eventually throws him. That would have been a really good place for that Carrie character, her friend, to like pop in and do that scene, because that would have been like because she's not really playing that much part in the rest of the film. That would have been a really good time to have her come in, try to talk him down, since you know the character, and then. But I don't know.
Mm, that's
It's
just
just funny the way they just give it to like a random
random.
character you've never seen before.
Well,
It's like,
he's one of the many people at the party who I'm sure the camera glanced over
yeah,
that we just didn't pay attention.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it's odd, to say the least. But when Freddy disappears, and he does that several times. He disappears when he breaks through the window, then he disappears at the very end of the whole party sequence.
yeah. He just straight up disappears.
Yeah, he just straight up disappears.
Yeah,
It seems it comes off as very odd to us. Like it's just weird that Freddy could just do this in the real world. Like
yeah,
what in the original in the first film, once he's in the real world, he's corporeal. He's real flesh and blood. He can be killed. This film, he can do whatever he wants to in the real world. I was like, so why is he going back to the dream world once he's already ripped Jesse a new one?
yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Well, he's a lot more powerful in the dream world because if you think about it, if you're in the real world, you're very vulnerable. You can get caught, you could be killed again. So it's like him being able to go back into the dream is a lot more to his advantage than just staying in the real world. I mean, what's he gonna do in the real world anyway?
kill more
Stay,
kids.
yeah, but until he's gonna get caught though, the cops will get him eventually.
He'll burn or hang again. Yeah, I know,
Yes.
I know. But it's I guess when they were making the movie, there was this need or this feeling that Freddy needed to have a goal and is to come to the real world. I mean, it's an interesting concept. It would have been much more interesting concept if they kind of stuck with the ideal throughout the whole film. I'm just saying. So,
Yeah, well, I think it's like if he can come into the real world and go back to the dream, though, that would be his best option because he could go back to the dream to get away from the cops or whoever, or he can be in a jail cell and go into a dream and get out of there. I don't. There's some logic problems with it, but
yeah, but to be honest with you, when this movie came out, and in the filmmakers' eyes, they hadn't set like in stone the rules. They could just make shit up as they went along, and we all know that. We all know that this film is infamous for having made up rules because it didn't know there was no. I guess the idea was that Wes Craven hadn't set up concrete rules enough in the first film, so they could just break them and change them in the second film. But then, of course, Wes Craven came back to craft the story for the third one, and then the rules stuck for the rest of the franchise. So,
yeah, yeah,
and then we kind of ignored the rules that were established in this film. You know, I don't.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I don't.
It's kind of
Yeah, people didn't. Yeah, the rules were just kind of like the second movie. The rules in this movie were just kind of thrown out the window, and a lot of people do, like I said, dismiss this film for. That's one of the main reasons I think.
yeah. I don't. I mean, I'm pretty sure this movie was ignored going forward after this. I don't think there was ever any callback. If I could be mistaken, to any part of this movie in any of the other movies.
I don't think so either. I don't think there was any mention of this at all. I think even with the Dream Warriors and other films, I think they get just after Nancy left that house, no one else ever lived in it again,
Yeah,
and the house became dilapidated. And in Dream Warriors, what's her face is doing a recreation of the house with the
right.
popsicle sticks, and it's dilapidated and
Yeah, yeah. So it's been like 2 years and it's done. The house. I guess there's a big time jump in between the first one and the third one, but
there
it's
is.
'cause Nancy's suddenly like a doctor. But yeah, but it's funny though. Yeah, they like completely like that didn't happen. That movie did not happen.
But keep in mind that between the first movie and this movie, it's supposed to only have been about 5 years. But between the first movie and that third movie, it's probably been maybe 7 or 8 years, because she has to have graduated from high school, graduated from college, and only been practicing for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Um,
But she also like had to get out of that mental institution first, so I don't know how long that took. So
what type of mental institution she was in?
yeah, it's probably half a year or something out of that. But it's just,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
do
got
I
the
not?
impression that she in the third movie has only been practicing her trade for a little bit of time. So she has not gotten the reputation of being a really dedicated and well-known psychiatrist like the other character in the film.
Yeah,
She I got the sense is like she just kind of graduated not too long ago and is out in the real world working. Which would mean that this film doesn't really exist in continuity, because there's just not enough time for that house to be dilapidated. You got to
yeah,
get for the third movie, you get a sense that the house is dilapidated. No one went back in that house after the
yeah,
massacre on Elm Street. No one. Nancy was put in the hospital. Her mother died. That house was abandoned, and it became
right.
a relic.
It's kind
So
of like yeah, it's kind of like the Myers house, when they do that. But the Myers house works really good. I mean, you don't think about it in this either, but in the house, what is it, like a good 20-year difference or something like that between the beginning and that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. But
Ah,
this, let's get back into the end of this.
yes.
Showdown. She goes into the boiler room and then sees like a rabid rat and a cat or something. Another weird thing that happens.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah,
The rabid cat eats the rabid rat, and Freddy shows up,
yeah,
and it's the power of love that conquers and allows Jesse to come free and come to the surface and defeat Freddy. Um,
yeah.
it's
She
a
kisses. She actually kisses him in Freddy form
yes.
too. She kisses Robert Englund, and it's like that causes him to catch on fire and start to melt and shit. And the melting looks pretty cool.
The melting does. I do have to admit that the melting always look cool, and this is where we see that motif of the everything melting again, like we did see earlier. But
Yeah,
it's just that's the way this one ends. She kisses Freddy, and Jesse has now gained the power of love to come back and put aside Freddy because he gave Freddy all of his powers, all of his belief,
yeah,
which is still weird because you got to keep in mind that Freddy is trying to influence him from the very moment of this film, which is kind of hard for me to take into consideration if he has never like read Nancy's diary. There's no thing that connects him to Freddy, so it just seems kind of odd. But hey, it's it works for this movie, I guess.
yeah. It's just
um
they have
because
a climax. They go to a place and then they have a love showdown with
Yeah, they
Freddy.
have a love show. This is the weirdest one. This weirdest ending. They have a love show. I love your wording for this one. They have a love show now. And love conquers all. And Freddy just kind of dwindles down to a little bitty thing as everything catches fire and burns and melts. And then all of a sudden we start hearing Jesse's voice coming out of Freddy, and then Freddy burns. Freddy burns to a cinder, and out of the ashes rises a reborn. Uh, I'm saying it this way for a reason too. A reborn Jesse. Uh, all of the undue influences from the Freddy have now been burned away, and and Jesse is born anew. And it's such a yes.
Yeah, it's a yeah, because see, I really think that it was like he was struggling with homosexuality, and then he picks heterosexuality instead at the end.
Uh,
And so he's freed from the homosexuality. She frees him from it. So that's kind of how it goes, though, I think.
it's a very odd way to end the movie. Not just because Freddy just kind of crumples over and becomes nothingness, but also in the way it was executed. Uh you know.
I feel like there's a really short amount of time for her to decide that she loves him, because I don't know, it is. I mean, sometimes I guess maybe it worked in the movie before when I saw it. I didn't think about it the first time I saw it, but if you think about it, like sometimes I guess maybe you're around somebody in a really intense situation that's life threatening, you may start to have that bond a little differently than in real life. But it doesn't seem like she hasn't had enough time to really get to know him to decide that she loves him.
Now it seems like it's 2 days to three
Yeah,
days,
yeah, 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 yeah.
maybe 3 days. Like Jesse has a nightmare every fucking night. It's like
Yeah,
he's
yeah, so,
waking up
yeah.
screaming every night. Yeah,
It
Freddy
is,
doesn't
yeah,
really.
yeah. You fall in love with somebody who's just like in this state of like disarray and it's like I mean she doesn't know who he is because he hasn't been himself this whole time.
Oh, that's
He's
a good
been
point. Yeah, he hasn't been
influenced by
himself.
Freddy, and it's like she don't even know she don't even know him really hardly.
No, she likes the what do you call it, the undecided guy who has personality issues. uh
Yeah.
he feels like Freddy's coming out of him. Freddy being the bad thing uh
Yes.
could be a metaphor for a lot of different things. uh
Yeah, yeah.
but in this film, the way it is portrayed obviously is a homosexuality. The Freddy coming out, and they must defeat the Freddy. Um, and I say that out loud, that seems really fucking weird for this movie. But
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's not like really the message that that a movie now like a gay pride movie would want to put out there. They wouldn't want it to end with the guy throwing away the homosexuality. They would want it to go the opposite way of that at the end. But
yeah,
but
I hear it would in
it's
this day and age. This film, if recrafted, could work really well if it embraced those themes openly. Um, I think it was very subtle here, enough at the time to go past a lot of people, and almost reassert the whole so-called manliness that is in opposition to the sinister Freddy character. Because obviously at the very very last scene, Jesse gets with um, Lisa, and Lisa's friend. They're all riding in a bus. Like that makes no sense to me either.
yeah.
Weren't they driving in his car? We don't see the car destroyed in this movie, so why are they riding in a bus? So they're riding,
Yeah.
they go on a bus. The last scene after they've defeated Freddy, they go on a bus, and then of course Jesse starts having these feelings that things are not going right. The bus is going too fast. He thinks it's going back to Freddy might be resurrecting himself. I don't know, but he's just uneasy. But when the bus stops and lets people off, he calms down just enough so that it really is going fast. And then Lisa's friend, who I can't remember her name, starts saying, "I can't."
It's
Oh,
Carrie.
you have a lines? Did you write it?
Her name, no, her name's Carrie. The name, I don't have the lines. I
Yeah,
don't
I wish I
think.
could remember the lines. She says some lines, and for a split second, because I think this is an editing snafu, it looks bad. Freddy's arm comes out of her chest for a
Oh yeah,
split second, and
yeah.
then
It's like a jump cut. Yeah,
yeah, it feels weird. It's really,
yeah,
but you could have done a really cool effect of
yeah.
that Freddy's head coming out, and then the bus going crazy and off into the desert. Like we're in suburbia, but this bus in both dream sequences, the beginning one and the end one, seems to drive off the road into the desert.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I don't get the bus stuff. The bus is clearly a dream. I think both times it's a dream, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Well, I just
I
think it's
don't get it.
well, no. I get this ending is just like the ending in the first movie. You think everything's back to normal, but for some odd, it could because in theory the first film, which is why Wes Craven has some issues with it, is because Nancy's defeated Freddy. She's taken all his powers back, and she's returned her friends to life as though Freddy didn't exist, and everything's normal, except for they have to have that jump ending, that jump scare at the ending, and it becomes Freddy who sucks her mom through the freaking little window in the door,
Yeah.
which looks
Which
hokey.
yeah, I thought it was a cool ending. I don't know. I thought it was like, holy shit,
Uh,
what?
I like
That,
I like the convertible top coming on and it being the color of Freddy's
yeah, the
sweater.
Freddy sweater. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
that's
cool.
cool visually. But
Yeah,
the mother just getting sucked back in the
yeah,
house seems kind of weird in the car. Yeah. So
yeah. But
this was
that, I
a
mean, yeah, I mean, it's a dream.
dream.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I never had a problem with it. I thought it was kind of cool. But I mean, this one, I don't know. Like, it has to be a dream because there's no reason for them to be on the bus to begin with. So
Yeah, I
it's
never
a
picked up
dream.
on that until I rewatched it.
Yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, why is he on a bus? They made a big stink of it the very beginning of the film, when he picks her up or takes her to school for the very first time. That the only reason why she goes with him is because he's her ride to school. Yet we see
yeah,
him in a bus at the very beginning of the movie, in a bus at the very end of the movie. And yeah, it's definitely a dream sequence. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. He's still having
yeah.
nightmares. Freddy's probably still trying to weasel his way through him. Or what we have here is that it doesn't matter how much you try and hide those deep-seated feelings, they will come back regardless because you can't hide your true nature. Ah,
Yeah. So there you go. So that actually makes it work in the favor of homosexuality because he tries to get away from it, but then he gets on the bus and there it is.
but and he's acting normal. He's not normal relatively speaking. He's acting normal relative to what he was acting like in the very first bus sequence, where he was like the person in the back of the bus who was quiet, who was like had the dark eyes, looking like a goth kid on the verge of death. He's
Yeah.
not like that now. He's like normal
Yeah.
James. So that could be our kind of our look at this film now. Even though you try and hide those deep-seated secrets and feelings, they can come up because they're just part of who you are. And so that comes out in that scene, and then we ended with, as usual, Freddy dragging people into the middle of nowhere in a bus. Although I did like the fact that Robert Englund is the bus driver at the very first dream sequence. So uh,
Yeah.
I forget how young he looked back in those days, dude. Oh my god, he looked like a little baby face character like he does in the television show V. If you ever saw,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. When I rewatched this, I was like, oh, look at Robert Englund. He looks like the character from V again. So,
Yeah, it's was odd though. I didn't see his face in the version I was watching of it. Maybe there's a different version. I just saw like the back of his head. It actually shows his face in it.
oh yeah. In this film, I think it's the very first when you first see the bus driver, you see his face. And then after that, you just see him from behind. When
In
he
the first scene, right? You see it.
in the first scene,
Yeah,
in the
I have
first
to
scene,
look at it again.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
that's the
see
reason I
his
didn't see
face.
it. Yeah,
And then after that one little sneak peek of him, you just see him from the back because that's when he turns to Freddy.
yeah. Right.
His
Yeah.
hand turns to Freddy and everything goes haywire. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So,
But that's well, I mean, that's kind of how that ends. I guess we skipped over the coach scene, which is probably the most well-known scene other than
yeah.
the pool thing in this movie.
Well, you want to save it for last, so let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the coach is so he goes. That's the one time when he wakes up, and I mean, he wakes up and you still think it's a dream, and he goes into this really bizarre downtown like bar that's hidden, and it's
Mhm.
called Don's Place, and he goes in there, and it's like there's people are all in leather and fetish and stuff like that. You notice Bob Shea in the scene?
No, because
So he's the bartender. Like he's actually dressed up in goth, looking pretty hilarious, and he
uh,
comes up and gets him a drink. And Bob Shea is the producer. He
yeah,
played himself in yeah, he's played himself, and there was a New Nightmare. So it's funny because it's like I didn't notice it was him, but then I read that he was in the movie, and then I went back and looked at it. I was like, oh, that is him. But then like it's like this whole sequence is weird because it doesn't seem like it's really happening, and then he goes in there, he gets a beer, and then all of a sudden the coach shows up beside him, and then he takes his hand and holds it like because he stops him from drinking the beer. And then the next thing you know, he's at the school, and this coach is making him run laps. But the coach is all in this really weird looking leather shirt thing. Um,
Yeah, it's
it's
weird. Go ahead.
it's really like it's just like the editing or something with it is really discombobulating because it doesn't seem like it's really happening, and it
No.
also doesn't seem like it. There's not. It doesn't. The scenes don't breathe enough to understand how you got from point A to B. It's like you see the coach in the one scene at the bar. There should have been a little conversation there at that point. The coach is like, "What are you doing here?" Plus, it's like he's at this gay bar or whatever it is, his fetish bar, and then he's like, the coach is in there. You think the coach wouldn't want him to know that he's in there? You think the coach would be like, "Oh shit," you know?
Yeah, I think I didn't. So this has got to be the dumbest thing known to mankind. What I'm about to say, uh, I readily will admit that because every time I saw this sequence, it reminded me of the sequences in the Police Academy movies
Yeah,
where they go
yeah,
into the
yeah,
Blue
yeah.
Oyster Club.
No, no, I thought the same thing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Everyone turns around and looks at the cops as they walk in there, and the music
yeah,
stops. They just look, and then of course the music starts. The
yeah,
music
yeah.
that's readily like I think
Yeah,
most of the Police Academy movies have that scene where some of
yeah.
them walk into the Blue Oyster Bar, and
Right.
this scene for me is exactly like that because it seems weird. The kind of sequence where it goes from there to the gym and to the shower scene. It's like it's it's supposed to be dreamlike, but but there has to be a logic for why the
Yeah.
coach gets from point A to point B, and the story goes like this, and how he gets killed in that in the shower scene. I
Yeah, why bring him back to the school at all? It's really odd, you
It's
know?
really odd. It's it's one of those strange logic things with this.
Yeah.
This movie has a very dreamlike logic to it for a lot of scenes. If it had been consistent and thought out and executed much more efficiently, I don't think we'd have such craziness. Like the way the dreams work in the movie Bad Dreams, if you've ever seen that one. I'm not sure if you
No, I hadn't seen it. No.
they do a really good job with melding the dreams and the kind of, oh, it's almost like a dreams flashback slash, yeah, it's really well done in that film. Or something like Jacob's Ladder, where you don't know
Yeah.
what's real, what's not real. This one is really odd to me, and it's always been odd to me. um which is why I'm
Yeah.
glad we're discussing it at the very end of our conversation here, because
Yeah.
it's the only one that kind of stands out more so than any of the other ones, but it also has one of the few death scenes in this film.
Yeah, and I mean, it always seemed. It's funny that even watching it on the unedited, it always just seemed like chopped up, like there was stuff missing from
Yes.
the scenes. And yeah, and then he brings him back and he makes him run laps at the school. And I guess in order to, I mean, that's why like it's weird that he brings him back to the school, but you kind of don't know exactly what this coach is up to. He does seem like, to me, he seems like he may be trying to molest him or something, you know? But it's odd to bring him back to the school if that's really what he's going to do. But he tells him to go take a shower, and then the coach goes into another office and he starts looking through stuff, and he gets out a jump rope, which is an odd thing to get out. But it turns out, and then Freddy, without seeing anything, the Freddy actually wraps him up with a jump rope and drags him down the hall, the coach. But before that happens, all this weird stuff starts happening in the coach's room. Like the balls start falling, the tennis rackets start buzzing like they're electric, and then the tennis balls start shooting at him. So like dream stuff's happening in the real world in that scene,
Mhm.
and then it gets dragged into the shower and then up against Well, this is like, I mean, all this type of stuff always happens in the other films too, but it's always inside a dream. So maybe, it's weird because the coach didn't go to sleep.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was about to
yeah,
bring up. It's like,
yeah,
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 it's a dream, but who's dreaming?
yeah. It's not a dream though. I don't guess. I mean, unless Jesse's been asleep the whole time and he was never really there.
Yeah, that's the thing that you have to think about because that's where I say the dream logic is weird because in theory it should be either Jesse's dream or the coach's Schneider's dream. But Coach Snyder, it seems odd that Freddy could jump into Coach Snyder's dreams. One because
Yeah.
he's not a kid, because he seems Freddy's powers in all these movies seems to be kind of stuck within the kids from
Right.
Elm Street and then like where would be the connection with Freddy and this coach? So it seems odd. It just seems
Yeah. Yeah. But then it gets like he brings the coach in there, and then he rips off all his clothes, and he starts spanking his ass with a
yes,
towel, and his ass is getting all bloody, and then it's like Jesse's in the shower still, and then he turns the shower fogs up, and then Freddy, who's not Robert Englund in that scene, that's the original guy they tried to have play Freddy. If you watch the way that he walks like a zombie. It's really bizarre, and you only see him like for 2 seconds, but it's not Robert Englund, and he walks over and it's pretty gruesome. He starts clawing the back of the coach and that with his claws, and it kills him.
yeah. Oh my god. So yeah. So and does I can't remember. Does Jesse wake up at the end of that? Shit. Why do I not
Well,
remember?
no, no, no. Then the cops like bring Jesse back to his house, like
Oh
and
yeah, that's
back.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they said he
They
was,
bring him back.
but I guess he's sleepwalking, so he's technically is asleep, but he's sleepwalking.
But
So,
still, it's just an
yeah,
odd dream to have if he's
yeah, yeah.
sleepwalking.
Well, yeah, I think it always happened because then the coach died in for real, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah, yeah.
So what we're saying here, Dave, is that there's a lot of odd inconsistencies with this movie that makes it an anomaly, not only with the Freddy franchise, but an anomaly as a film on its own, which could be the reason why it has amassed such a big cult following. It's not as straightforward as, say, the Dream Warrior or even the more infamous Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. This one has a lot of odd things because it breaks the rules, it creates its own rules, it does its own thing separate from the original film and anything that happens after this film. Um,
Yeah,
so
right. Yeah.
Um, is there anything else you think that we need to highlight on this film, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Revenge?
Freddy's Revenge, and I,
I
and
was
I
gonna
think,
say
yeah,
I was gonna say Freddy's Dead. I was like,
I
well, no, no,
know.
no. I just said that. That's part six.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's yeah. I don't have anything else to say. I think we covered it pretty good for the most part. It's pretty straightforward, kind of straightforward film. It's not as complicated as some of the other ones, but it is very uneven.
I think if you don't take into a lot of the stuff that we have discussed because we nitpicked and we analyzed and we critiqued a lot of stuff, then this could be a straightforward, very dull Nightmare on Elm Street sequel. I guarantee you that's how I originally perceived this film when I originally saw it as a kid in the 80s.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. I think that was what I was thinking too, because it doesn't have the narrative drive that some of the other ones
Mhm.
have. It just it's just very like I've said a couple of times. It just seems very uneven to me as far
Mhm.
as the script.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, I no, I agree with you 120% of this. It would be like and I hate to bring this movie up. It would be like Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation that seems to have a lot of logic issues in that fucking movie
Yeah.
too.
This
You
movie's a lot better than Texas Chainsaw: The Next Generation.
Yeah, no, 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 don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It is most definitely way
Yeah,
better than Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next
yeah,
Generation. God, when we talk about that movie in the future,
yeah.
I will have to tell you some stories about that because I have a story that no one else will have about that fucking movie.
Well, yeah, I've never made it through that movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. I think I watched maybe half of it, But this movie I've seen 3 or 4 times, so
No, I've seen this
it's
movie. I've seen this movie at least a dozen times, dude.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen this movie at least a dozen times. I grew up watching this one because, like this one, this franchise and Friday 13th franchise and Halloween, I used to play on repeat all the time when I was growing up. So I'd watch all of them. I wouldn't
yeah,
watch just the ones, the nitpick ones I would take out. I would watch all of them in order. And I
yeah,
did
yeah.
that.
That's how you do it. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess this was kind of hard to watch in order because it doesn't like. It's funny because back then it kind of didn't even register that it didn't quite tie into the other ones.
No,
Seeing
because
it,
it
but yeah,
mentions Nancy, whereas
yeah,
the only ones that really mention Nancy is the first three. That's it.
yeah,
You know, after that, they have other characters to rely on. But yeah. Oh no. I mean, Friday 13th is probably the more chaotic franchise.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh but yeah, this one it was just like the lesser. It didn't have the drive of, say, Dream Warriors and the innovation of part four, which has some amazing makeup effects and creature effects in part four. And then number five went off and number five doesn't have many death sequences either in it. It was a really dark gothic looking film, the fifth one. I still enjoy the fifth one for its atmosphere. It has some issues as well. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'll,
I saw it recently again. I've seen that one several times, but I like it. Okay,
yeah,
it's. I think they it kind of flows with the fourth one. The
so
third,
do I.
really the third, the fourth, and the fifth one flow pretty good as far as keeping continuity kind of
Yeah.
for with them.
Well, I love the Alice character. I thought
Yeah, yeah,
that was a good character to segue from like Nancy is a great character in the two films Nancy's in. I can't remember.
there's a Patricia Arquette's
I can't
character
re-
in this second
I
one.
can't remember her character because she only played the character once, and then of course in the next one they kill her off. But Alice
Yeah,
is in part four and five, and she doesn't die. Like, it'd be cool
right.
to see Alice return to fight.
Yeah.
Fight. I think they actually made a fan film that based on that idea that she comes back to fight Freddy again, some shit like that. I don't remember anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it would be nice to see her back, but I guess it maybe that ship's may have sailed already.
There's no ship that sells. That's
Yeah,
why we have legacy sequels.
yeah,
Remember, Robert England will be like 85 years old doing Freddy Krueger, and fighting off the good fight. Okay,
yeah, well,
Heather
yeah.
Langenkamp is still here. We can get these actresses to come back and do a legacy sequel.
They could
Freddy's
kill. Yeah, I guess
Freddy's
yeah,
Armageddon.
they kill like Nancy in the third one, but I guess they brought like back Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode in Halloween, even though they killed her
Yeah,
off twice.
yeah, dude. They can do anything they want to. It's what, yeah. In this day and age, anything goes. I do think that had this film, part two, not been hampered with Freddy and just be some other entity trying to take over the Jesse character, it would be a much different type of film. Like we were discussing earlier about possession films. I think it's kind of like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. If you could craft a remake of this and it not be Freddy, and it would be a very interesting film. And you play up all the actual gay themes in there, homosexual themes in there, and you play them up. You don't hide them. This would be an amazingly different film that would probably be as interesting as the film They Them. I don't know if you saw that one. Did you see They Them?
No, no, I hadn't seen it. It's
Ah,
like Kevin Bacon's in that,
yeah,
right?
great
Yeah,
movie, great movie, great
yeah,
movie. Yeah, yeah, it's a great movie. They did an excellent job with the themes and everything in that movie. It was really well done. And that's why I say in this day and age, you could take this film and really play up those themes and make a really great movie with them. Just don't make it Freddy because the rules don't apply really. You could just do any other type of entity thing, and you could do a really great movie. But
yeah, yeah. You got
this
to come up
this
with something.
yeah, but this as it is, this makes for an odd yet interesting watch for a Nightmare on Elm Street film because it doesn't play by the rules. It creates its own, and it has an enduring legacy that goes far beyond what its original intention was, and that's what makes it interesting for all audiences. So, with that, I want to thank you, Dave, for having this conversation about this movie with me. For everyone listening, what we normally do is we like to rate the film from 1 to 5, 1 being poor, 5 being amazing. But what we love to do is we like to take an object, quote, or saying from the film to attribute to our rating. What, Dave, is your rating for this film, and what, quote, object or saying are you going to attribute to your rating?
I'm gonna be kind of lame with my object. I'm gonna go with the Freddy claw. it's, it's a tough one to rate. I'm gonna give it like 2.5 stars. And I think it is like I do like the makeup. There's like the special effects. I like Robert Englund's performance a lot. I think it's very uneven. I don't like it that they changed the rules and all the other stuff we talked about, but it is still watchable and it does have some. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it at 2.5. That's what I got.
I'm gonna be a little bit more forthcoming to for this film for you. I actually give it a 3.5. You are all my children. Uh, the film is much more so growing up, this was always the weakest one for me because of the fact of a lot of the stuff that it did that I always saw as a kid. It just broke for me. But as I got older and I started to research more and I saw the documentary of Scream Queen, this film, I see a lot more in it than that was probably more stuff in this film that was originally intended. Therefore, that makes this film it elevates it a little bit more than what I would have normally given it had I not had this thought process. So
Yeah.
I give it 3.5. And
Yeah.
the thing is, I guarantee you, this is an interesting film to discuss with a lot of different type of people. If I was to have this conversation about this film with another group of guests, we would have a different conversation about this movie. It
Yeah,
would be
yeah, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
It would
It's
be
definitely there's a
interesting.
lot to talk about. What one thing I didn't say this there's a new 4K transfer on that set that has a restoration. It looks really good on this film.
Oh.
You can tell they did some work to it.
Yeah. And the one thing I will recall from when I was a kid watching this is I always thought this was one of the scary ones because of the cinematography and how dark it is. This is not where it goes funny, where they have to have all these creative kill. Freddy has all these creative kills with everyone. That would become his hallmark, and he's not cracking a bunch of jokes, which has been another thing that he became. So this one was always, when I was growing up, much more of the scarier one, as opposed to all the other ones that came after part three. Um, but when you're growing up watching these things, you end up being that guy or that girl who loves just watching Freddy dismantle people in creative ways. And that is what this film does lack. Is Freddy doesn't kill people in creative ways. He just kind of kills people. Like the original film, he killed people in creative ways. This film,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
he doesn't really do that. So
Yeah.
there's
Well, I mean, yeah, the coach is it's fairly creative.
yeah,
it was like more about it
no,
like
it's
slapping his ass with a
Glenn.
towel, but.
Glenn, Johnny Depp's character in the first one,
Oh
Glenn.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no death like Glenn's or like Nancy's best friend who gets dragged up on the ceiling and all that. There's
Yeah.
none those.
But that was yeah. Those are freaking iconic
Yeah,
deaths.
they're
Yeah,
iconic.
two
There's
two
nothing
of
like
them,
that.
two of them in that one, and that's probably the best deaths in the series. Those two.
Yeah, you don't have any of those in this film, and so that's
Yeah.
why I think that this, in hindsight, will always be considered a lesser film because this is the only one in the entire franchise like this. Like it is so different from the other films because of certain things like this. So with that, I hope you all have enjoyed this conversation in horror in which we have delved into the film Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. We hope that you will seek out all the other great movies that we are talking about this month as part of Pride Month, as well as our regular episodes, which come out every Wednesday at 8. We will still have regular episodes during the week. And also make sure to like, follow, share, do that thing you do with your favorite podcast app, Spotify, or YouTube. And please check out our other podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, which delves into the amazing oeuvre that is the 60s, 70s, and 80s of Hammer Studio films. From all of us here, Something Wicked Entertainment, have a great evening in your dreams. Good night. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.